I ain't playing weak, no, I'm playing for keeps. Can't stop me, I'm a legend. I run with the crew that's making the moves. Get out of the way, we coming through. We got this, never stopping, and we won't lose. No, we can't lose. Yeah. Are you ready? Yeah. We are the legends. We are the legends. Yeah. Are you ready? We are the legends. We are the legends.
Hello and welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to the penultimate round for Season 21 of the RaceKraft V8 Veterans Championship. And it's time for our second last pot of Vindaloo on the way to crowning our 21st champion of the V8 Veterans for split number 1. Tonight we're heading to Portugal, the second time the V8 Veterans have journeyed to the circuit known as the roller coaster. Because it's got a lot of rising and falling, it's a lot of side to side. Oh, and it even has an Olympic-sized swimming pool out the back of the race control tower that I've just been informed of. Dave Haynes, thank you very much for introducing me to the swimming pool that I did not know about, and that shall forevermore live in folklore of this track.
You know, I love a niche little fun fact about the circuit. So here's where it is, over in Portugal, kind of on their southwest coast, down here on the Iberian Peninsula. So very popular for testing other things around here. The weather's pretty good as far as Europe is concerned across most of the year. It's relatively dry as well when you look at it, this part down here. This is where the racetrack is, sort of up amongst the mountains, bunch of golf courses around here, a little bit out of the town of Algarve, in the area known as Portimao. And again, another one of those aerial views where you go, oh yeah, lots of corners, but doesn't really tell you all of that elevation.
You can see the swimming pool in the aerial view. You can see it. Okay, so the reason why I'm excited is Dave literally shared this secret about, what, 2 minutes ago? 3 minutes ago?
Yeah, I said there's a swimming pool in the paddock, in the pit lane. So if you're going to celebrate a win, you can celebrate it Monaco style. I think between that administration building there and sort of race control and the timing tower, it usually serves more of a sort of decorative, artistic, sculptural vibe to the pit lane. But if you really, really want to get in, and yeah, it's there. so you can celebrate how you see fit.
This broadcast tends to regularly get sidetracked by a lot of different things, but I didn't think we'd be starting the night sidetracked. 15 Tournins on the lap here tonight, and this is actually the GP layout on this one. So what you'll actually notice is down at turn 5 in the center of the lap where it says Torre VIP, that corner is this only difference between the layout that we're running tonight, which isn't quite the Grand Prix layout. We're running the Moto layout. It uses the Moto hairpin. You can see there's a little bit of rubber and asphalt just a little bit further back up that straightaway. So slight alteration to the white track line. Other than that, everything else is identical. And for those of you wanting to know where the swimming pool is, go look at the bottom of the track map, right where that arrow is that kickstarts the lap, right at the back end of the arrow, where it cuts across the track to signal where the start-finish line is. You see that building just across the track from that line, and it's that blue smudge on the screen just in behind that. That is the swimming pool. So there you go, swimming pool located. I wonder if it appears on the track map that Michael Stewart will have in the background. I'm pretty sure it's not a big enough feature to be found on the greatest tracks.
His map is greatest racetracks, not greatest swimming pools, because the top of that is absolutely the Harold Holt Memorial Swimming Pool. That is one of the swimming centers of all time.
So, all right, I can tell you, ladies and gentlemen, that is our race. It's what we're looking at tonight. 15 turns. It is a fast and flowing racetrack with tons of tire deck coming our way. 4.6 kilometers in terms of length. And let's take a quick look at our championship standings to set the scene for what we're thinking about in terms of point standings here tonight. We already all know that Scott Gamble's going to be leading the way. The margin at the moment is 77 points. However, we are already calculating the 2 drop rounds for drivers inside of this field. So consider that one already counted. After tonight, that will be it. Drop rounds will be locked in. You cannot drop Bathurst, which will be our final round next week. 300 kilometers worth of racing to come as well. Sean McNamara sits in second spot by a single point over Ken Latta, moves his way up after last week. For Michael Stewart, he is a little bit further back, but sits deep inside the top 5. And Damien Cairns is having a season to remember as well. Michael Whiting's managed to bank a whole bunch of points after a race win last week as well. Mark Poynton from Chris Miller. Matt Vanderkran slides a few spots down, sits inside the top 10. Dave Kirby, Greg Sharp, and John Gallen all moving up 5 spots after last week. Good to see all 3 of those drivers. And the biggest drivers on the slide was Dan Horn, John Latham, both not in attendance from the Motegi 150, which created a backup of the Long Beach situation last week. So we'll slide across to a little bit of our race information here tonight.
Yeah, over there on the race info, 44 laps, just over 200 kilometers, of course. This 200 kilometer race, starting fuel 50 liters, but with a refill capacity of 111, gives us a wide strategy window for the 2 compulsory pit stops after lap 2, with the critical lap for the second stop opening around lap 13 or 14 on this length of race.
Yeah, and needing to make sure that you hit that 33 laps as well for the points, I think, is a really, really important marker. 514 litres worth of fuel, so effectively a full tank is going to go in to get you home on the duration, and critical times for those pit stops, 13 to 14. We'll be talking about that right across the duration. 200 kilometres here tonight as well, very, very important to get done. What do your pit stop graphs look like? Well, you can fill up effectively. That's, I believe, the graph from last week. My apologies. I was going to say, I don't think you can get home from lap 4. No, you can't, in fact. You can get home from the earliest we're looking at, lap 14. So, a couple different strategies. Come in on lap number 2, run it through to lap 14, fill up and go to the end. But that is a very, very long way, and the tyres do take an absolute hammering from this joint, so you will not want to be doing that one. The blue and the yellow strategies are probably your 2 optimal strategies. Probably looking to use strategy with the even stints here tonight. It is just so important, but keep yourself open for a safety car. Can do some fuel saving if you can't cut your way through the traffic. But the biggest one tonight is you got to sit on those tires, and overtaking is extremely difficult around here. As much as we've got all these fast flowing corners, getting the job done is really, really difficult. The biggest thing you can do is if you can't get the overtake done, save some fuel, save some tire. That will open a window later on. Got to protect the rear tires here tonight as well, Dave. That's a big talking point. You'll see a lot of that.
Yeah, a lot of traction zones, turn 3, turn 5, turn 7. Really long one out the final corner is going to be a challenge for these cars, because for GT3, stuff like that, it's pretty flat out, really, really long corner. But for these cars, maybe not so easy, particularly as you get further through the stint. Definitely an opportunity to run some heat through the tires, slide them a bit, put more heat into them, slide them some more. You are going to have to be careful here. It's a reason that this racetrack gets used so often for tire testing, setup testing. It's got the undulating hills, it's got some big stops, it's got some flowing parts, it's got some slow traction zones, a little bit of everything. But what it does really do is test your tires.
Well, we're going to have a quick jump across and have a quick look at our Zoom wall. I can tell you qualifying is just about in the books. We'll have your qualifying results for you guys here in just a few moments. The drivers that are joining us here again tonight. You know, Dino might be in operation once again and getting a supreme workout. Gamble in the top left, Tim Nickel. And then in the top right is going to be Jason Fewens. John Latham sits on the left-hand side of the second row from Damien Cairns and Michael Stewart. We'll be checking in with those track marks. Has he flipped around his rig? I thought he was facing the other direction the last time we had a look at that one.
Different camera angle, I think, is what we're seeing.
Okay. Well, that's definitely changed. Dean Bell's got an update on the dyno for us. Greg Sharp from Jeff Thomas, Dave Kirby, Travis Hunt, and Christian Smart on the bottom row. And give us a wave to any of those drivers who are listening along at home at the moment. I can tell you there'll be a few of them. Race starts will be coming our way here. Practice starts, you can see a few drivers filing out of pit lane. Get their practice starts in the books, because that's what the warm-up session's all about, really, isn't it?
Oh, I reckon Travis Hunt going to give us a wave? Yeah, I reckon. So that's a zoom wall. A lot of the drivers ready to focus. 200 kilometers.
No, none of them are listening in tonight. Yep.
Serious business. It's serious business at Portimao as we go to recap the Chubby Buns Burgers driver of the day from last round.
Was Jamie McKnight. He drove his way through into the top 10 and doesn't get enough credit, so he said it was a great opportunity to do so. And I can tell you that man has had his birthday in the last week as well, so as it turned out, it was one of the better birthday presents we could have gotten him as well.
Happy 21st, Jamie McKnight. So good to see he's ready. Let's go racing again. I think, Racing can keep you young. Sometimes it can make you feel a bit old.
Started 17th, finished 7th, and like we said, just doesn't necessarily get all the accolades sometimes, but he gets the opportunity to get back out there and have a fair bit of fun, and that's what it's all about at the end of the day. Just taking a look up, I know that there was quite a few drivers that were hitting milestone races, I believe, this time around. I think Scott McHugh was one of the drivers who is on 199 starts here tonight. So we'll talk about those ones during the race. In the meantime, this is the warm-up. And here is our pole position drivers here tonight. Scott Gamble, once again, from the top end of town, manages to snag himself another pole position with a 140.821. 222 thousandths of a second behind is Matt Vanderkran. I felt like I've said that wrong. I should be true for 222 thousandths of a second behind. Off of row number 2, it's going to be David Nash, who's finally managed to put a qualifying lap together, and it was only a 1-lap qualifying session here tonight. Chad Lewis will be starting off alongside of him. So a big opportunity for these two drivers. And they're only about 5 thousandths of a second apart, so phenomenal qualifying effort for both of those. Michael Stewart's going to line up out of 5th position, been running quite highly in terms of qualifying standings tonight. And Tim Nickel will line up alongside of him. Another driver making an appearance inside the top 10 in terms of qualifying will be Dan Hall, who'll be ecstatic and over the moon with his qualifying performances here tonight. Troy Stone Street in the Chubby Buns Burgers entry will line up off alongside of him. From there on back, it's going to be Damien Cairns from Sean McNamara. Sean's probably not most happy with that qualifying performance here tonight, albeit probably practiced a little bit down given he's had Pro Series commitments through the week to keep an eye on. We'll get outside the top 10 now, with Travis Hunt will be the first driver outside of the top 10, and he'll be just ahead of Jeff Thomas. It'll be the two teammates of row number 6. We'll see if they can get a launch and who gets to lead between those two on the run down to turn number 1. Michael Whiting from Christian Smart will be off of row number 7. So again, two more teammates lining up alongside of each other. Mike will be trying to challenge and push himself a little bit further forward in championship standings. Row number 8 will be Greg Sharp from Matty Parker. Outside of these guys, the Dino Dino out of 17th on the grid. Mark Boynton, a little bit better qualifying performance from him this week. Himself out of 18th. Blake Delaney and John Latham both deep in the field, just barely inside the 20, but this is a tricky track, and the wily old veterans will be trying to cut their way through it during the race. Birthday boy, Jamie McKnight out of 21st, and you said he was happy 21st. David Haynes, how about that for a starting position then? Lines up alongside of Lorne Mackay.
There you go.
22nd spot, how good's that one? Couldn't have asked for a better script, I think. I think that's the one set itself up really nicely. In behind these guys is going to be row number 12 will be Robbie Griffiths from Darren Crosby. Gary Buckland and Brad Doble are going to round out row number 13. Good to see Gary Buckland once again. David Kirby's a long way back, and he's going to be lining up alongside of John Gallen on the 14th row of the grid. 1.4, 1.5 seconds off the pole position time, by the way, so a long way back, and this track sort of has a few of those elements. Darren Goosey and Robert Crisdale are going to round out our top 30. From there, we'll get back to Stewie Hall and Craig Friend, 31st and 32nd on the grid. Shane Randell and Scott McCune out of the 17th row on the grid. Jason Fewens will be first of the drivers not to set a qualifying time. Logan Barnett is the next one. Stephen Farger I'm seeing as well. I think he might have joined whatever, and Mario Reale to round us out in terms of the grid. So 38 entries here tonight, 19 rows on the grid, and a long run on the way down to turn number 1 as well.
Can you almost see the pool from this angle? My other niche little thing I picked up lately was the iRacing skips and dumpsters at in the Netherlands at Zandvoort. Swimming pool is far more exciting than that, and we've got just over 200 kilometers of action to come.
This is going to be a challenging one. We'll be talking about tyre wear right throughout the duration, and the tyres do wear in the rear end. You're going to see some cars really crawling all over the circuit. Is there anyone deeper in that field that you're sort of keeping an eye on? I think that that row with both Blake Delaney and John Latham on it, that'll be an interesting one to see how both of those drivers progress from very equal starting positions.
Oh, how about Jamie McKnight again?
We'll have all eyes set on the 027 for sure. Got a few more moments in the sun. Righto, ladies and gentlemen, we are now halfway through our gridding process, so I can tell you we are moments away from getting set for a start. There'll be a few drivers looking for a little bit of an opportunity. I think David Nash and Chad Lewis on row number 2. How about that for those guys? If they can get a good launch and run down to turn number 1, who knows what we could be looking at. But a lot of opportunity in the water if you can look after your tyres. Maybe pull out a little bit of a pit lane masterclass in terms of the strategy. So we'll have to wait and see. But, I get the feeling lap 10. We're expecting a lot of drivers in, I reckon, around about that lap 10 marker, because that's quite a lot of wear on those tyres. So keep your eyes on the first of the pit stops in and around lap 10 to 12 as the drivers look to split the race up into a little bit of an undercut third. A lot of fuel on board these cars to start this race as well. And moments away from lights going out here tonight. For the second to last time, and I think this needs to be mentioned now as well, the second to last time, we're going to be seeing Holden ZB Commodore for the V8 Veterans will be transitioning over to the Chevy Camaro for season number 22 alongside of the newer generation, the Gen 3 of the Ford Mustangs. So get used to the second to last time you're going to see these cars. For RaceKraft V8 veterans, the revs will rise. Get set, ready for a start, and the run down at turn number 1. And Vanderkraan's actually got a really, really good launch, but David Nash from row number 2's got a better one. And they're all scrambling in the background. 4 to 5 wide. Matt Vanderkraan might lead laps here on the run out at turn number 1. David Nash got into the back of him as well, nudging him all the way down through turn 1, turn 2. And there's a whole bunch of contact, and Gamble's slipped all the way back to third. And I can tell you, he's already on the line, so he's feeling a little bit aggrieved and a little bit elbowed out of the way.
Yeah, well, great start from Vanderkraan, but Nash really got his way in there as well, and they definitely made some contact through that little bit at turn 2 before you get to that braking zone at turn 3. Traction off of there is so critical. Then you head through this little bit here again, traction limited off the exit here near the VIP tower.
It's a little bit off camber down through that hairpin as well, isn't it? It sort of falls away from the drivers, and they're trying to keep the cars all hogged up and tip it in. And you crest the hill here on the run out of Samsung corner at turn 8. And you'll fall away once again. There'll be a little bit of a lift as you swing the car back to the left-hand side. We're keeping an eye on Sean McNamara, who's back in about 8th spot on the opening lap at the moment. In the meantime, Michael Stewart's harassing Tim Nicol just up ahead of him, and Scott Gamble still looking for a way to get back past and get his way back into second, although I think patience will be the big key tonight. He'll just look after the tyre. No reason to get aggressive early. Chad Lewis managed to get away. And how about Dan Hall as well, up in a 5th spot? So he's done a really, really good start to gain himself 2 spots.
All on through the midfield here, and you see the timing column moving up and down. Drivers like Blake Delaney making some good spots early. Drivers like Jeff Thomas dropping a couple, Michael Stewart dropping a couple as well. Work our way towards the end of the lap here. Here's this sort of nearly never-ending final corner, and you can imagine the load it puts in. That's what pit entry looks like if you've got to hit it at the end of lap 1. With a black flag, wasn't it?
That's it, and it was for a jump start, so trying to serve that one nice and early and get it out of the way. And out of the way it now is. So Robbie Griffiths is now done and handled with. And I can tell you, a new feature coming to our timing tower here for this evening. Was rolled out and used a couple times already this week, but if you see a black box next to somebody's name on the timing tower, they've got an iRacing black flag for Robbie Griffiths that did show on the timing tower. Have a look at this battle a little bit further back in the field. Christian Smart on the outside and on the defense, dropping spots as didn't manage to hook that car up. John Latham's not been able to gain much ground, but Blake Delaney certainly has. He's +6, sits 13th on the road at the moment. Another pinch break there, and trying to hang on to that one for Christian Smart.
Yep, it's the traction out of there that's so important as well, and some drivers get it better than others. Blake Delaney moving through the field as we go here, so 6 gained. A lot of that was sort of lap 1. He hasn't actually done a whole lot this lap other than sit into his rhythm there in that spot. Jamie McKnight, hey, how about also making a couple?
Bunch of drivers all with +6. Shane Randell, Jamie McKnight and Robert Crusdale all joining the party to gain 6 spots on the opening lap. Now it'll be about setting in for the long run and looking to do whatever you can do to look after those tyres. Tell you what, Scott Gamble's already managed to cut his way back past David Nash. I don't think it would have been too much squabbling over that one. I think it just would have been a yield. Let that one go. And Dan Hall sets the fastest lap of the race with a 1:41.6. So he is pressing on nice and early, but that is going to cost him. He's also managed to get his way past teammate Chad Lewis, so he sits 4th on the road at the moment.
Yeah, I think he made a spot into turn 1 just there, so a good drive off the final corner. It's obviously a pretty long, high-speed run down the front straight, so I think there is a bit of slipstream to be had on the way towards turn 1 as well. So yeah, Dan Hall +3, and he's watching this battle in front. He's got an eye on everyone except Matt Vanderkraan, who's just lost about half a tenth of a little bit of time to the advantage that he had. Vanderkraan really out of the gates quickly on this one. And Scott Gamble and David Nash left to battle at 2nd and 3rd here. Get a load of the elevation change from onboard.
Up, down, and up again as we get to this crest, and then it's going to dip away down on the exit once again. And,
I mean, even turn 1, that braking zone for turn 1 where the track just drops 3 stories and then picks them all back up again. towards the braking of turn 1.
Issue for Mark Poynton, and this will tell us what happens. We got down the inside of John Latham, and then he sort of ran Latham out of room. And the way Racing will be looking at that one is you've got to leave room to the white line. This will tell the story from Latham's perspective. Yeah, he's not left him any room. Latham can't go any further out. What thoughts on that one, Dave?
Is that I was looking in the wrong place at that time, but again, yeah, I mean, there's a car to your outside and you come across, they're maybe going to hold their ground and it can end up being on you. Van der Kraan, boom, time gone, like more than half a second here. He had a second lead on Gamble and it has vanished in the third sector.
Is coming with him as well. There was a big old moment down at turn number 13, which is the first of the slow corners at the tail end of the lap. Slow left-hander before you come to the penultimate corner at 14. So a little bit of wiggle on the way in. You can see trying to use up all the ground on the run into Samsung, square the corner off and get drive without using the curb if you can. And can tell you the car does break into a fractional wheel spin as you crest that hill right there. Van der Kraan's going to cover to the inside, then he'll open it back up. Gamble slides it down the inside. Is Gamble going to be able to pick up the throttle and get the job down at the exit? Well, there is still a touch of overlap, but Matt Van der Kraan yields and puts up the white flag on that occasion. Might be looking for a little bit of a tow to help him defend against David Nash, who tries to get on the power nice and hard. Out of 13, run into 14. So, return to regular programming as Scott Gamble takes back over the race lead.
Using a lot of the road through the exit, and then this is where you're just at speed, full throttle all the way down the front straight here. Odd little braking zone as you drop downhill and then pick back up again through a rather sharp turn 1. Turn 2, not a whole lot of anything to it. And then braking big time into turn 3. David Nash is going to have just a cheeky little look. And then your traction out of here, so difficult because see how tight they stay on the exit of 3 to try to carry speed uphill and then over the crest where the car gets light through turn 4. Super difficult complex, those first 4 corners.
Yeah, that much very, very much is. And now they'll try and hold themselves up, turn it back in, and turn 5 hairpin as well. The more open version of the hairpin, longer, more twisty. Have a look what it looks like on board from Scott Gamble. I'll tell you what, it's worth a ride on from Chad Lewis or Dan Hall's perspective, or even David Nash, anyone within the middle of this pack. As we go on board with Scott Gamble, you can just see, look at how far to his right he's turning his head to have a look, because that corner just doubles back, and it just keeps coming back on you. And such is the benefit of having a wider monitor, at least 3 monitors to have a look through. You really use them around this place.
Yeah, and then the final part here. So he holds very tight there to get to power. So does Chad Lewis. And it sort of, the track opens up, but it's be tough to stay very near anything flat out. So working the throttle in 4th gear here. So you get to a point where you reckon you can open the throttle, shifting to 5th, running a little bit wide through the generous runoff, top of the crest there, and then to 6th. So this is the speed here, really getting towards the limiter there. 285 km an hour apparently.
On the run down to turn number 1.
Because you come onto the front straight in 5th gear. So you carry so much speed onto the straight, and then, yeah, revving it all the way up into 6th gear with a little bit of a tow. Do reach some really quality speeds by the end of the straight.
Rise up through turn 4 as well. You've really got to baby the throttle as you press the hill to try and look after those rear tyres. It's going to be a long run on these tyres here tonight as well. Very easy to miss the braking zone on the run down in here, and overtaking in the background, as I believe Drew Stone Street's just been opened by Damien Cairns. Was in the recovery effort. How about Travis Hunt's up a few spots? What happened to Jeff Thomas? Jeff Thomas has lost a few spots since the opening laps, because I know that the 2 teammates were stuck together. So one of them's +2, the other one is -2 for the JWM cars of Hunt and Jeff Thomas.
Yeah, a lot happened in the opening laps as well, and you ended up with a very jumbled sort of top 20 or so cars initially off the race start.
Jump start available to us for Ruby Griffiths, so we might have a bit of a look into how bad that one was. I wonder whether or not it was a line locker that wasn't held. So all this waiting on the grid, waiting for... yep, there it is. There was no line locker applied. Oh, did he release that?
Sometimes, so the sequence is normally lights on, lights go out. And I reckon maybe at the lights go on he's flinched, which is one phase before. It's kind of like F1 where if you flinched a little bit when the fifth red light came on instead of going when they go out.
We've got a huge moment at the moment. Going back to live pictures, Chad Lewis and Sean McNamara have just had a big coming together, and it's all been triggered by David Nash trying to get the spot off of Matt Vanderkrant, and David Nash has managed to go and pick that spot away, and now Lewis is going to get in the back of Travis Hunt. So a lot's just happened.
And hey, the teammates are back together again, like you were talking about earlier. Not quite how Jeff Thomas wanted to get one spot back, because Travis Hunt has dropped a whole bunch with that contact in towards turn 5, and it all starts from some contact earlier on as well.
Yeah, so this will all kick off with the move from David Nash on Matt Vanderkrant, which has changed hands for second, and they've actually re-changed hands again. So Vanderkrant's back into second spot. So Vanderkrant not a touch wide. He's a long way back as David Nash sends it down in, loses it, and that just props everyone up as they all come together here. And then Sean McNamara sees a little bit of a hole and tries to get down the inside, and once they're both together, sort of just wreck avoidance from there. Stewart's going to sense an opportunity. They're 3 wide on the run down here, and Lewis is trying to pinch off McNamara on the run down the inside. Michael Stewart checked up early, but it turns out that Michael Stewart was actually one of the drivers that was on the right number of the braking zone.
So let's recap. Who was a little ambitious between turns 1 and 5? David Nash, Sean McNamara, and Chad Lewis.
And the drivers
all of them to the principal's office.
Yeah, there'll be a lot. Michael Stewart's trying to go around the outside of that one, so that's the aftermath. There's a little bit of netcode that brings those two cars together.
Yeah, that's a shame. Actually, there was heaps of space for McNamara there, I think.
There was more than enough room, I think, although it would have been ambitious to go the inside at turn 4. And then that's Chad Lewis just missing a braking zone, really. And not by much either. He's only missed that by not too far.
Yeah, and you're the car in the middle there, so he can't swerve one way or the other, but because of that is why you probably need to brake a little earlier than you end up doing.
And Blake Delaney tries to go down the outside of Jeff Thomas, and all that's done is allowed Travis Hunt to scoot through on the pair of them and get the spots back. So Delaney's on the tyre stage strategy, it looks like, and Jeff Thomas is running out of rubber on the front end of this car. He's really struggling to get that car stopped, and Delaney finally will get that job done.
There's a bit of debris flying around there as well. So it is a super tire-eating racetrack into lap 8 now. So look at drivers' sort of last lap compared to their best lap. That's the comparison I go to for like, okay, how much tire wear, how much tire drop-off are we having? And we're having a bit over half a second. No one is really at risk of taking the fastest lap of the race away until they put new tires on.
Well, I can tell you our race leaders are about 0.8 of a second. And around that second marker. So, though David Nash did get his way through to second place, he has re-yielded that one. I think that might have been a driver lifting off and just going, yeah, I'm probably going to have to give that space up if race control has a look at it. So, decision made. Seeing a little bit of stuff like that too. When drivers automatically just go, yep, I'm going to yield that position back and automatically readjust that one myself before the stewards get called. I like seeing that in action.
So here's where things start to get crazy inside of the top 10 after all of that. But, David Nash backs us all up just a little bit. Now approaching that first pit stop window for sure. I wonder if there's a few more that'll try to jump.
And yeah, I think it is going to be a case of we're all just packed up a little bit. Hey, Dave, you want to perhaps just jump out and get a little bit of free real estate yourself, hey?
Well, there's no such thing as free real estate these days.
No.
The slightly subtle livery. That final corner in these cars, you know, there's so many other types of cars where it's not a corner at all. So, you know, your prototypes, GT3s, any of the lighter weight, more downforce cars, it's just flat out. But everyone pitches in fourth gear and just has to pull the throttle a little bit until they've got the car where they think they can start to get to full throttle. And it's another thing about these racing cars that just that they make things that aren't a corner or a consideration in other racing cars another thing that you've got to drive and you've got to get consistently, and you've got to balance your speed versus your tire wear and your angle and your over rotation, under rotation versus am I turning into this corner by using up too much of the rear tires?
You know what's really, really interesting to consider, by the way, as we move to Gen 3 chassis? Well, Gen 3s at the moment don't have ARBs, but there's actually discussion going on in the background about potentially bringing the adjustable anti-roll bars back to the cars. So they may launch on iRacing without the anti-roll bars, which is their current spec and configuration.
And then we can wait 2 years for iRacing to bring it?
And yeah, basically.
Sorry, I shouldn't be so rude about we're getting a beautiful, beautiful thing and I'm already complaining.
Well, I had a look back and it was a year after the inception of the Gen 2 chassis that we got it on iRacing. So this time around they've not done all that well. Yeah, I'll leave that one on the wayside. I'm not going to comment on it further. I think everyone knows what we're all thinking. So, it has created some good racing for the last 5 years, and just about everyone who's been a V8 supercar driver over the last duration has said, yep, yeah, it's been done to death. So we're keen for a little bit of new hardware to have a crack on. You gonna have a crack at the new cars, Dave?
I reckon. I've been looking, so Brad Doble's 35th, but he stopped like 2 laps ago, and he just done a 141.9, which makes him quicker than everyone to like 20 or 30. He's like basically the fastest car on the track at the moment. So that's why a few others I reckon are pitting inside that top 10, because there is a real serious tyre undercut to be had on this racetrack with these cars. Some of the other circuits we've been to, you know, the guys in the lead are like, oh yeah, I could push on, you know, 2/10 quicker if I needed to. I'm saving these tyres. I'm tough to undercut because I'm not using up all of my pace, and I've still saved a little bit of tyre to try to run this long, react to anyone who tries to undercut me. But no, here, I reckon the tyre undercut is really, really powerful. Dan Hall could get a good load of it. Logan Barnett, you see, also pitting there. So tyre undercut is looking so quick. The guys like Brad Doble and Chad Lewis and Jeff Thomas. Oh my goodness.
Also,
did he take the fastest lap of the race, Jeff Thomas, with new tyres?
I believe you might have. Okay, so we're hearing Dan Hall's already got that one.
Right, Dan Hall still got that with the 141.63, whereas Jeff Thomas had a 141.67 on his new tyres. Yeah, so there is a lot of pace to be had with the fresh tyres.
Yeah, and Chad Lewis, by the way, for his involvement in that incident down at Turn 5 and contact with Travis Hunt, drive-through penalty for him, which has just been through the lane and serve. But, which is really, really rare for V8 veterans, to take a look at the track map at the moment, and there is just about nobody fighting. There's 2 little packs, and they're very, very little packs. And one of the reasons for that is because we're in the middle of a pit stop strategy. And the other one is, I think the tyre delta is really giving everyone a lot to chew on and mull over. And the only problem with all of that is, as the field gets spread out, it's very unlikely that we'll get a safety car.
Your words, not mine. Scott Gamble's almost about to hit a little bit of lap traffic here, but only a tiny bit. So Chad Lewis, just the once through the pits at this point. A few others stopping. So a lot of fuel there for Jamie McKnight. You've just seen 30 seconds of it. Mark Poynton's about to go past 20 seconds of fuel fill. And there we go. There's guys finding a lot of pace on new tyres. Sean McNamara takes the fastest lap of the race. Down here in 28th at the moment. But a new set of tyres gives just so much pace compared to Gamble's last of a 42.5. There's almost a second a lap in it all.
Yeah, also nicking that last time race on the way to that one. That's going to buy McNamara potentially enough track position to get the job done. And
David Nash in some trouble here because Tim Nicol is past and now Michael Stewart's on him, and I reckon we're headed for pit entry here, but not with these guys, just with Damien Cairns behind.
I think he wanted to go to the pit lane, but didn't quite get the car turned in, and now Michael Stewart's going to go the long way around. Did get some drafting support. Side drafter pulling back. Nash will retake the position. But it is for now as Michael Stewart starts to show a little bit of pace, and it wouldn't surprise me to see both of these guys try and dive to the lane at the tail end of this lap. Really getting a hurry up at the apex of turn 3 as well. Gamble's in.
Towards the end of that starting 50 litres of fuel anyway around this lap, and that's why I see a heap more in Scott Gamble, Tristan through Demi Cairns, and Nash. I mean, those tyres are cooked and cactus for him. He's going to drop another spot here. He was on the brakes so much earlier for turn 3 just to try to get it stopped on the way in there as well. So is it rears that are going away? That seems like what it is.
It's definitely rears. I can tell you with confidence, absolutely is rears. I've got the opportunity to race this car on Tuesday night, and rears, oh my god, it was fronts as well. You certainly do wear the front tyres because trying to get the car stopped, pointed in, you tinker with the brake wires just to make a few of those bits and pieces happen, and yeah, it can be a little bit of front tyre as well.
Scott Gamble in, Matt Van Crane and Tim Nicol go on. Nicol, I think he's done well with his tyres, to be honest. Because look, he's closed up to Van der Craan. He was very easily able to get around David Nash and leave a couple of others behind. So anyone who looks like they've done well with their tyres in this stint will also be able to do it in the later stints and have some pace towards the end. Those rears are about done for Stewart and Nash back there.
Having some struggle street issues. Michael Whiting is not going to come on in, and there is the black flag for Travis Hunt, which says he was probably speeding or maybe an unsafe entry if he crossed one of the lines as well. So pit lane entry penalty to serve. Does that tell us the story? Yeah, he's way too hot on the brakes.
Limiter a tiny bit late as well. You can obviously see from offboard when the drivers engage the pit lane speed limiter because it triggers the headlight. So a lot of them, you'll be braking towards the cone, you'll engage the limiter, then you'll get down to the speed and you've got the limiter on. But he sort of got into the pit lane and then hit the limiter a tiny bit late. So busy there, bit of a pool party on pit lane. Quick stop for Michael Stewart. So he hasn't taken as much fuel as some others have done. Tim Nicol has taken a lot, so maybe he'll run a bit long in this middle stint. But I was just saying he looked like he was a driver who had good pace towards the end of the stints. Now he's not going to have a whole lot of track position in this middle stint, but he could still this could still be good if he doesn't get too much traffic in this middle stint.
So we come down to how can he look after the tyres. And the other thing about a little bit more fuel load as well is it takes the weight and sits it very much over those rear tyres. You can save a little bit more. It is a little bit less agile as a result, but you wear a little bit more front tyre. You've just not got the weight. Big old heavy race cars, these V8 supercars too as well, can't be understated. Here comes the rest of the drivers to pit lane. Michael White and Greg Sharp both in. Blake Delaney in, and in the stall, Robert Crisdale coming lane. So we should end up with a completely readjusted order as Shane Rendell's the last that we're waiting for a pit stop on. So everyone has now done their first stops. And 14 laps in the books of 44. We start our 15th circuit of the night. And Gamble's still quite comfortably in control, but Dan Hall has made his way into second spot at the moment with a very short first fill. And he was looking for a little bit of an undercut and to press on because he had some pace, and then that group just got a little bit wild.
These lift and stairs things behind the pit lane in the paddock there, almost reminiscent of how Bathurst has it. And there it is. Good exit.
Yeah, so the pool building, those two big tall buildings on the left-hand side, obviously shot down the back end of the pit lane entry. It's between the two big buildings right there. One of them, yes, building just on the right, and we're going to go for a little bit of a fly around with the drone camera. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is the pool out the back.
Oh, nice. Yeah, nice little place to sit and eat. So I think on the right-hand side there, you got a bunch of offices, administrations, the food canteen kind of situation, and then over to the left is the sort of where your race control and your commentary would be overlooking the start-finish line. We might have the same iRacing bins as Zandvoort just over there as well. So plenty to see, and look at all the hills and the golf, and they've really tried to work this racetrack into the natural topography around here, but you can tell it's still taken a lot of work to be able to get a racetrack with good runoff into this kind of topography.
Done a phenomenal job of it, I must say. I do wonder how much landscaping's been done to give us the wonderful facility we've got in operation here. At the run out of the final corner as well. Left to start finish straight.
So inside of the top 10, I'm looking who took a lot of fuel. Damien Cairns did, Tim Nicol did. Everyone else sort of 21, 25 seconds. Sean McNamara took a whole bunch here as well. So he had 28 seconds to his stop. Got a car behind him there in Michael Stewart, who therefore will be a little bit lighter. But then when it all shakes out at the second round of stops, McNamara can be pretty happy with himself. So I reckon, I'm still thinking Tim Nicol for a podium here. Based on the 32 seconds of fuel he was able to take and still rejoin inside of the top 10, and his good work with the tyre life in that first stint at least.
I do look after the tyres as well, that pace late on. Very, very strong. Now it's just sort of a little bit of a waiting game as we wait just for tyres to ale a little bit. I can tell you there's a battle on track at the moment for 6th and 7th. Jeff Thomas has managed to find his way with a little bit of that undercut, but now he's looking to hold off Troy Stone Street. He came very, very early at the tail end of lap number 8 for Jeff Thomas. And John Latham's gained a fair few spots. Sits 10th on the road at this point in time with a light, agile car, but he has got some fuel deficit. Some of those cars in and around him.
Couldn't help but notice just a little bit of angle Jeff Thomas had through the final corner. So there is a few of them that just sort of light the rears up a little bit through that really long final corner. Obviously, it's so easy to do, but if you do it lap after lap after lap, it can't be especially great for that left rear tyre that's obviously going to do a lot of work with traction zones on a clockwise circuit.
John
Sock
Latham
cam.
gives us the pedal cam. And fancy set of pedals to go with. And John Latham's a big fan of John Lee and the RaceKraft Simulations boys as well. It's a fair bit of the latest hardware. And look at how smooth he's being with that throttle. A touch of a lift when he crests the hill as well. Did you see that? Just as he, and then back at the left-hander, a big lift as he come back to the left. So really trying to manage that tyre on the way through a lot of these different little bits and pieces of the racetrack as well. You can hold it flat all the way up the hill, but you will end up spinning rear tyres. So he's trying to eliminate as much of that as he possibly can.
to the final corner will be interesting with this for me, because again, they get to full throttle out of this tight right-hander, but then they need to get out of it, not normally touch the brake. So about here, as you come over the hill, he's almost all the way out of the throttle and then getting back to it gradually to their full throttle out the final corner, making the shift up into fourth, fifth, and into sixth, just there. So that is an interesting sort of, I reckon if you went through the data one driver to the other, a few of them would have different techniques for managing the throttle and indeed even the brake on the way in there across a stint, across different fuel loads. Because Latham obviously went basically all the way out of the throttle and then came back into it. Whereas a few others might sort of lift to half throttle a little earlier, carry that through until they could get to full throttle. So do you have one big lift, or do you do a smaller lift for longer on your way in and through? And it's going to depend on where your balance is at, what line you took, who you're following, how much speed you got, your tire age, your fuel, all of that stuff. That's one of those really interesting little corners for me. When something is like not quite a braking zone, but almost is, it's
this one.
interesting.
Run up and over the hill, and you can just see him. He's really starting to close in on Damien Cairns, and the difference in the tyre life that these two guys are showing at the moment. The tricky part is that you can see that Latham's just got so much better drive.
His car's so much lighter as well.
Now he's going to try and get the move done, because he needs to get on with his race.
Where we're doing like 3 litres a second or something refueling these days, and so the difference then between Latham and Damien Cairns, 6 seconds, to 12, 13, 14 litres. Give or take, it could be 10 kilos difference here.
That's doing everything from putting less weight through the tyres, a little bit easier to corner the car, particularly with a very, very heavy car, down the inside, and Cairns does not opt to fight that one, which is pretty standard for Damien Cairns. Just knows when it's not a battle that's worth fighting and knows when to roll out.
And then again, that same point I just made of a 6 or 7 second pit stop difference is now if you're Damien Cairns, if you've got a teammate with access to that data, or you're looking at that data as you see the difference in the pit stop times over 6 seconds, if you just don't let John Latham get more than 6 seconds ahead of you in this stint, you'll probably still have him in the back half of the race. When what goes up must come down, and etc. Embarrassing for our director there, as we know that he uses the scientific mode of the Windows calculator. The key problem with the Windows calculator is, unlike a physical one, you can't turn it upside down.
Yeah, you've got to turn the monitor upside down.
Yeah. Where's the entertainment? Where's the entertainment in that?
Something's just reported in from our birthday boy as well. Jimmy McKnight just called something into race control. So I wonder whether or not there might have been contact. He's around Logan Barnett on the track. I don't know whether or not that was referring to, but he has lost about a second in the middle sector of the lap.
Jamie McKnight, one of the first drivers to stop, so one of the drivers with the oldest tyres out there. He's they're 7 laps old. And Brad Doble, who's just behind them with the 11 lap old tyres. There's a few drivers around there that did stop a little on the earlier side.
Really struggling. And the reason that we've got a calculator in operation, fuel taken for both of the drivers on screen at the moment. John Latham 57 litres, Damien Cairns 75. So 18 litres worth of difference.
Race Fuels have a handy graphic where they tell you the specific gravity of different types of fuels that they sell. So some are actually not particularly dense at all. They're sort of 0.7, so a litre of that weighs 700 grams. You get towards some like drag racing fuels and other things. They are, and Formula One fuel in the 80s with some of the additives and toluene and whatever, where they were very, very dense at sort of 0.8 towards even 0.9. So a litre of those are sort of 900 grams. Normal road car pump fuel, you're fair to guess 0.75, so that a litre of fuel weighs 3/4 that of a litre of water.
How about this from David Nash, who's had speed here tonight and opted to run quite long on that first stint. Now he's harassing the rear bumper of Christian Smart. Smart's got 10 seconds less worth of fuel on board. He's going to get run wide. There will be a little bit of contact, and Dean Flavel's just watching along this one and going, there might be a spot in this for me, because he's actually fighting Christian Smart out on track. So, whilst they're not fighting David Nash, the battle between the next two drivers is very much on. Very little between those two in terms of fuel take.
Get a load of that, the brake light's coming on through the final corner from the car in front of us here. Whereas we were seeing the onboard from others, John Latham I think it was, where he does not use the brake pedal through there.
Got the rundown into turn one as well. Christian Smart covers it. Does he get the drive at the other side? Reasonable. You can get a little bit of a switch back on, and you can also opt to dive down the inside, and shallow entry there for Christian Smart. Does he get the drive? And have a look at David Nash, who just gallops away whilst all this is going on.
I think we've seen the Dino's Dyno up a lot higher than it is here at Portimao, so he's feeling very relaxed. Maybe knowing that there's a swimming pool around just helps a little bit on that. Maybe the beautiful scenery helps with that. We've seen this thing maxed out at the top of on the limit before, haven't we? And now you can see it's actually within the range of the readout at about 100 BPM or so. Hopefully that means he's feeling good today.
Well, it's not an intense lap, is it? It's just there's not a lot of high intensity areas to the circuit, not like a Detroit Belial or a Long Beach. But there is a lot of low intense stuff back to back to back to back. So it's not a, you would say this is really feels like a marathon of a track, if you will.
And we've definitely seen some of the drivers, they love to have their force feedback up really, really high, but that sort of through bumpy tracks, through really high speed changes of direction, or the changes of direction at relatively low speed. I reckon if you measure sort of the average output of some of the direct drive wheels and stuff people are running, it's probably not as high here as it is, Detroit, Long Beach, Sebring, other really bumpy tracks. So you probably do get to rest your arms a little more around here as well. It seems smooth.
Just keeping half an eye on, since David Nash has got through his last lap, he's had a lot of moments with the rear end of that car's been trying to get away from him. So it might be worthwhile just keeping half an eye on, now that he's in a little bit of free air, what's the car behaviour like? Because he nearly went for a wild ride at the tail end of the lap. One more pit stop to come from these guys as well. We're expecting it somewhere around the lap 29 to 30 range, so we're around 8 laps or so away. It's updated points graphic as well. As well, keeping half an eye on. Well, Mark Quentin slides a little bit because he's had that incident here tonight, but Matt Vanderkran's on for a really, really strong finish as well, slides on a couple spots.
Vanderkran runs well at the moment, and he did take a decent enough amount of fuel at that first stop as well, so it's not like the position right now isn't representative. He could well and truly be for a podium. We've seen the points table before as well, and so 178 points back for Matt Vanderkran makes him the last driver in mathematical contention when we go to the final round at Bathurst. Again, you've said, Scott, cannot be dropped.
So if you're not in attendance at Bathurst, we'll take a big old goose-egg. No points scored, and that will count towards your tally, so that'll be worthwhile keeping in the back of our mind. Conclusions of tonight's racing once the points are locked in.
Tell you what, a lot of them have dropped pace again since they last got those new tyres 10, 12, 13 laps ago. We're well back into the mid and high 142s compared to the mid 141s that were possible on brand new tyres. So such a huge amount of pace that they get off new tyres that they just cannot maintain for more than 3 or 4 or 5 laps. And of course the stints are all much more like 15 laps than they are like 4 or 5.
flag we're seeing for Dave Kirby. I'm wondering whether or not this might be incident point count. But he is definitely gesturing. Well, it wasn't gesturing. My apologies. That's his shifter right there. I thought he was gesturing.
Longish first stop, so 34 seconds in the box, minute 4 in the lane. Checks out about right, but he might have overshot and just lost 1 or 2 seconds there. He's another one of those drivers I remember seeing, and you kind of gauge how hard the arms are working on the wheel. And here it does seem a little easier than some others. He's not flexing the guns as much as we've seen from some other onboards and from some other drivers at previous rounds.
Look at him as well. He's constantly trying to get more oxygen back in, constantly taking big gulps of air. Big settle, big sign. He has a look through the rearview mirror, and Scott McCune closes in just a little bit more. Looks for a move on the run down to turn number 1. Gets quite close to him, but again, eyes go back forward.
It looks like he loses a lot of time between the middle of the braking zone and the apex. So in that phase where you start to roll off the brake pressure and steer the nose towards the apex, and that part of the late braking zone where you've got your trail braking towards the apex and you start to balance the brake and the steering input together instead of just braking completely in a straight line. So that seemed to be one of the places he was just struggling to maybe rotate the car late in the braking zone.
What we're keeping half an eye on is, remember David Nash was running that podium equation? Well, he's got about 10 seconds more fuel than Dan Hall. Well, he's 16 seconds behind Dan Hall, so all that battling has dropped him off behind Dan Hall. So at this stage, I'd say Dan is going to come out ahead of him, potentially. But at the moment, Nash has got a little bit more speed. Remember, Dan Hall was one of the early drivers to jump in and get that stop done. So,
and that's why I really rate the position that Tim Nicol is in. So 9th on the track at the moment, but a whole heap of cars in front of him that he's going to jump at least up to 5th place Michael Stewart when the second round of pit stops comes around. A couple of positions changing inside of the top 10. Tim Nicol hasn't had too much traffic, but he has had then a decently long first stop to save him some the second time around.
Well, drivers that have been competing for a very, very long time. And for Robbie Griffiths, 100 V8 veterans start last week from Motegi. That's the equivalent of 10 full seasons of 10 races of V8 veterans. And wasn't the only one to hit that milestone. Craig Friend also joined him in and around the series for a very, very long time. There are quite a few drivers in the V8 veterans now that are on the positive side of 100. And I'm reasonably certain Scott McCune was at 199 as of tonight, so he will be celebrating 200 starts in the last start of the Holden Commodore at Bathurst. How well does that line up? You know, enjoy that one. And Troy Stone Street 50 V8 Vet starts last week as well.
Not a boring race today. Latham just behind him, I think, there.
Yep, John Latham's just tracked him down. Actually, cross that one off. I was expecting it might be a really, really cool marker for us to go through next week at Bathurst. Final start in the Holden Commodore. No, it is actually 200 V8 veteran start, the ultimate run in the ZB Commodore for Scotty McCune. It's the big old 200. He is one of the most capped V8 veterans drivers alongside Jamie McKnight. Alright, how about that? For 200 starts, the equivalent of 20 seasons of the 21 that we've gone the journey with here. Third highest of all time. And
then, as you say, a new chapter to V8 Vets soon. and this is the first season they've gone up to 4 splits as well, so super popular. Let's see if the new supercar is engaging to drive, gives us the kind of racing that we get. The format with the 2 stops is just so good, because sprint races with these cars, I don't know, 1-stop races with these cars, everyone would take the same stop, it wouldn't do a whole lot, but we get lots here out of this format.
Meantime, Scott Campbell's clear by now 11 seconds at the pointy end for the field. There is only one driver that stands above both Scott McCune and Timmy McKnight, and it is Darren Goosey, who stands atop the pile of the number of starts. He did qualify here tonight, unfortunately for Darren. Doesn't look like he's managed to make the race start. And how close the margins are, with Scott McCune making his 200th start. The driver with the most starts being Darren Goosey, 208 would have been for him.
Van der Kraan losing spots from 4th. Damien Kans and Tim Nicol had gone back and 4th over 8th and 9th, I think, here as well. So this isn't Van der Kraan coming to the pits. This is Van der Kraan really starting to run out a little bit of tyres there. Dan Hall and Sean McNamara have just gotten past quick sticks, and then look at Michael Stewart and Michael Stewart, at least, just back there, ready to pounce on Van der Kraan as well.
Worthwhile noting that Sean McNamara's got 4 lap older tyres than Matt Van der Kraan, so whether or not Van der Kraan's just being a little bit more conservative, but Van der Kraan took 2 seconds less worth of fuel, so at the moment this is looking like Sean McNamara is going to jump his way into 2nd place, and he might be able to do it out on the racetrack as well. And at the moment, if they were to pit, it's a 17 lap run to home, which is about how long this stint is now for Sean McNamara, and Dan Hall dives in the lane. He's had enough of these set of tyres. He's got about that same amount to do again, though, to get home. That is going to be a very, very long run to the end of the race.
So, if you take a look at the live timing, linked in the YouTube link and all that, these lap times are really just... It's not like they drop a little bit once the tyres are no longer fresh and then they hit a plateau again. There's no plateau to the tyres around here. They just keep dropping and dropping and dropping. So you've got your leader, Scott Gamble, 1.6 seconds away from his best. I was looking at Tim Nicol's pace. I was like, how's he going on those tyres? He was getting towards 2 or more seconds away from his personal best. The tyres, each lap you run them, you seem to lose 0.2 compared to the previous lap, and it just keeps coming. The drop is real. Look at that from McNamara. Okay, he had a little bit of stuff to work through, but no one's within 2 seconds of their PB once they're this far into the stint, lap 14, lap 15.
And it's something that they have to worry about. It's a long, long way to go on the tyres, and
the undercut could be as much as 2.5 seconds then. Like that, just one lap of tyre undercut is going to be massive at this final stop. That's why you've got a bunch of drivers coming in. I think Tim Nicol already called it on his second stop. So there was a few drivers that sort of were looking at that and thinking, you know, passing might be difficult, but a nice little tyre undercut will do a lot for you.
He's come out just ahead of Chad Lewis, who's yet to take his second stop.
Well, Lewis ran wide there. The car immediately behind Tim Nicol ran so wide. How much space he's got behind him now.
And Dan Hall squeaked on in the middle of these guys as well, so Tim Nicol's played the strategy a little bit right, and for all the drivers that are up ahead, got to be aware there's a host of them coming to the pit lane now. Matt Van der Kraan's in, Stone Street, Matty Parker, Dean Flavelle. So final round of pit stops coming our way thick and fast now, because we're starting to hit that final run of the flag. About 15 laps or so on each of the stints to run it nice and evenly. But if you're Scott Gamble, you might just 10-second margin. I think he's probably just going to hang around a little bit longer.
On these new tyres, look how much space Nicol has to the curb on the exit of the final corner, whereas 10-lap-old tyres and everyone's struggling to keep it within bounds on the exit. Here's the blend with Van der Kraan.
So Tim Nicol is going to feed in just behind Matt Vanderkruijm. And Matt Vanderkruijm might have thought he was in a little bit of trouble right there, but Nicol gets the job done. Now we watch and wait for what these lap times are going to look like compared to all the drivers up and ahead of them. Because they are going to make a whole host of time. But how much can they look after the tyres in this final run with a little bit more rubber laid down? Track temps still extremely cool as they always are. But the big thing now is much, much lighter fuel loads that are under the flag.
Gamble, Sean McNamara, they pit. I was looking at the gap that Scott Gamble had at the lead of the race going, oh yeah, 11 seconds, 12 seconds, very, very handy. But the reality of it was going to be he could be undercut on that margin in 5 laps. So he's also decided he's in. A few others are as well. Really last pit stop time now. No one wants to hang it out too late. What the tyres are doing here. It's insane compared to some of the other ones who've gone, oh, tyres are dropping off. They're sort of 0.8 of a second away from PB pace for these drivers. Like, we're into this 2 second stuff around here at Portimao.
Yeah, so can't afford to hang around and wait. And Michael Stewart's been through the lane. Kansas has been through the lane. Christian Smart's been through the lane. Bulk of the field is now being back through the lane. Michael Whiting and David Nash are going to hang it out, as is Blake Mulaney and Jamie Knight. Other than that, I think the rest of the field might have done their final stops.
Yeah, I think just your top 4 on 15, 16, 15 and 18 lap all tyres. So Jamie McKnight running along in the middle stint here. Kind of had to because when he stopped the very, very first time around. Going to get busy all around Tim Nicol here. He's where he joined just a little bit behind Sean McNamara, just behind Matt Vanderkruijm as we saw. Dan Hall in behind him starting to look really racy. Damien Cairns has held some good track position through all of this just behind. So it's possible, depending on where Blake Delaney and some of the others rejoin, that this ends up being Gamble leading, McNamara 2nd, Vanderkruijm 3rd, Tim Nicol 4th, Dan Hall 5th.
We just wait for the last few pit stops that come in so we can actually talk about what's going on in terms of the race. In the meantime, I can tell you there's a battle from about 23rd on back, which has got a ton of cars in it. It's David Kurbitz at the head of the train. You've got Brad Dober and Jason Fuels, Mark Poynton just trying to cut his way back through a little bit of a pack. And there's another pack just down the road from these guys. And I believe it's got 22nd through to about 17th as well. So battle packs staying relatively close together. Although I don't think Robbie Griffiths has actually done his 2nd stop. He's just behind these guys. Remember, he had a drive-through penalty for the jump start as well, which is why he's out of sequence.
Go different lines, different ways of attacking the final corner. All of them look a little bit tighter through the mid-corner and the exit, but the tyres are starting to drop away from them somewhat in this group. We're on 4 and 5-ish lap old tyres. There's some Fewens just trying to check some clear air for a second there.
Now it's just about trying to send a message to Brad Doble. If I'm thinking about going for a move, covers to the inside, Doble covers him off there, and they're all going to just sort of defend and cover each other. Point was trying to go the long way around down at turn number 3. Now Jason Fewens, look of utmost focus and concentration on his face as is normal for him.
One of those drivers who likes a bit of lean angle. Valentino Fewens, they're calling him.
He will love that. He will absolutely love that. I just like to get behind the microphone and do a bit of commentary from time to time as well. little bit of fun, but loves his supercar racing, does Chase. You can see he's just so intensely focused at the moment because he's got Poynton all over him. And he's trying to do everything he possibly can to find a way past Brad Doble ahead of him.
Yeah, Fune's got newer tyres than David Kirby and Brad Doble, and even 2 or 3 laps could be, you know, a lot based on what we've seen. It could be giving you an extra 3 or 4 tenths based on that continuous and sustained drop-off lap after lap that the tyres seem to be picking up. He's going to have his same little bit of real estate.
A little bit of a run on Brad Doble, showed the nose. Enough of a crack at him, and now it is the big old send down the inside. Does he get it pulled up? Yes, he will. So for Jason Fewens, just rolled off the brake a fraction, enough to get down the inside, but still get that car nice and accurately pulled up. Brad Doble gave him a heap of room to allow him to pull that move off. Job done. One more spot further forward. 24th spot now for Jason Fewens.
There's a little bit more action using a little bit more of the road between Scott McCune and Lorne Mackay. McCune ahead at the hairpin. Was Mackay, who was a little wide on the exit of turn 4 earlier there as well. So you think that track limits is just a little thing to be concerned about, particularly on the older tyres?
Yeah, not really. From the little bit of racing I've done around here, this is a point's one a huge concern of mine. In a supercar, although I guess if you had a wild eye at the office, they certainly can be. Everyone's actually got past Brad Doble, and he's already all over Dave Kirby, so there might be another move pulled off down at turn number 1. So he's got pace in that car to potentially pull clean out of this little alpaca. Kirby just a much better run through the final corner, so.
Here's the speed and power down the front straight all the way towards the top 6th gear, knowing that the rev limit is at 7,500. Not close enough to pull off the signature move again, is he? He's braking well into turn 3 for sure, though.
That car up. And Brad Doble and Mike Poynton have just gone toe-to-toe as well, and Doble didn't get drive off at the crest of the hill. It's going to open the door for Poynton to get down the inside, and will now do so, although the drive out the other side is going to favour Brad Doble at the moment. He will now lift and fall back in. Knight will finally come to the pit lane and give up his track position, but he will have fresh rubber to the end of the race. And Lorne Mackay and Scott McCune might have come together. Oh, yeah. And McCune waiting to immediately redress that one.
Oh my word.
Whoever that was blindsided for sure. Like one of the fishy cars, I think.
You seen that video where they cut away just before the truck hits the bollard?
Oh, Shane Randall. Oh, well, there's no harm done. So, is there realistically a foul?
Man, okay. That certainly was a little dramatic.
Mouth moment for sure.
Scott Gamble went and took the fastest lap of the race back, so that's 1 or 2 points extra for him, the way that it runs, and I don't think anyone's going to be able to, unless you...
Well, Blake Delaney hasn't pit yet.
Yeah, okay, I was about to say, unless you check over...
And to get the bonus points for it.
Yeah, so the Ricardo Singapore situation.
Yeah, the Ricardo Singapore situation.
You take a point away from Lando Norris and you finish with the fastest lap of the race and no one gets the point.
And you get yourself a nice old Christmas present at the end of the year from Max Verstappen.
He's probably given Verstappen.com gift vouchers.
He gets, and with the vouchers these earned, he gets unlimited plays in the Max Verstappen, so. Bonus points at the moment for Scott Campbell. Opposition leading laps and currently has the fastest lap of the race as well, so he will be scoring a few extra bonus points on top of that one. But so the number's slightly wrong. But then again, the fastest lap's not locked in yet, so it is only provisional. But Zoom feed fastest lap. Zoom feed led laps and pole position all awarding him bonus points at this point in time.
And get a load of this though. He's got Blake Delaney, who hasn't stopped yet, that he's going to catch because he's catching 2.53 seconds a lap. Here is Delaney, going around another one again. Campbell is getting by the end of this lap the way they're going.
I wonder if he is going to have a crack at this fastest lap, because why not, right?
Yeah. I mean, there's no sense to what he's doing otherwise, if I'm honest.
Well, when he catches people now, he is going to have a supreme rubber offset. He's going to be immense. Apparently we're hearing there's actually another driver out there. Yeah, we haven't spoken about Chad Lewis. Chad Lewis hasn't made his second stop yet. Look at the feeling from Chad Lewis's perspective. He's trying to pull the ball over the steward's eyes and say, hey, I've served a drive-through penalty here. That was the second trip through the lane. So, he must stop and the car must go up on the jacks for it to count as a pit stop. So, two drivers, we await their final stop of the race, and you can see just how warm the tyres are for Chad at the moment.
You see the gap to Christian Smart will evaporate pretty quickly, as Smart was about 1.5 seconds quicker last lap. 1.6, there you go. So that's plenty of pace.
And I can tell you, Blake Delaney's just died of the pit lane, so realistically, if he wants to go for the fastest lap, he dawdles around on this outlap, does really protects the tyre, does nothing in terms of pace. I think he can really have a crack at it.
We'll see where he rejoins and what kind of traffic he's got, because he could still be top 15-ish here. So that's 10th now, just coming around the final corner. Delaney's step not done just yet, is now. I mean, it's fun, but I think stopping 5 laps earlier for the overall pace would probably have been the way to do it. But he'll have a very exciting last few laps of the racing tournament.
And he will have a super amount of pace. Christian Smart's actually going to come through on him.
Yep, Nostra David said 15th place, so pretty close.
Well done. Good prediction. I rate it. He's going to have Stephen Varga all over him, although Varga's got 11 lap older tyres now, so when somebody just went off in the background, I think that would have been Logan Barnett. Or conversely, I'll change that one from be Lorne Mackay. Went quite wide back there. He's actually a lap down car at the moment. No, it's not going Lorne Mackay's way.
So surely it's almost Delaney onboard time. I mean, this is going to be a very exciting lap if he decides he's going to lay down the rubber for all the remaining laps, and he's gone long in the middle stint, fresher tyres than many others around him. Doesn't necessarily have his clear track, so I mean, what if he runs up behind Jamie McKnight on the coming lap? In fact, he's going on the out lap here.
Well, Jamie's only pitted about 3 laps ago, so they're actually got relatively close lap pace, and Michael Stewart and Todd Latham are actually be fighting inside the top 10. And Latham's just got a supreme amount of exit speed off the final corner, gets to the inside nice and early. You get the feeling, yeah, and there it goes, the yield from Michael Stewart. Lift to let him back through.
There comes Blake Delaney through the final quarter. He's washed out a little bit wide there, too close to Jamie McKnight. So he's got great tyres. He's not necessarily well positioned for this to be the fastest lap of the race. What he needs to beat is a 141.3 from Scott Gamble.
And for him to do that, he'd have to be 0.3 of a second faster than his qualifying lap. Turn 1, Turn 2 was not great. Now down at Turn 3 is a lot more accurate. Yeah, doesn't pull the car up all that well. So I don't think he's actually going to go for this. This isn't looking supreme from Delaney.
No,
I wonder what the predicted time looks like.
Jamie McKnight's last lap was a 142, so if you started within 7/10 of the rear wing of Jamie McKnight, I don't think you're going to set the fastest lap of the race just based on these cars in front of you aren't doing fastest lap of the race pace and you're a little too close to them. So he's probably now. It's just like worry about your racing, try to pick these guys off, because otherwise you'd have to, on this lap, deliberately give up 2 seconds or something. And you're not doing that. We're still racing.
Oh, now he is starting to catch.
He hasn't quite had the window, because if he was just ahead of Christian Smart, could have been on.
Certainly could have been. But instead, boxed up in behind the teammates, although they'll probably be having a little bit of fun and racing to the end of the race as well. That's what it's about at the end of the day. We're out here to do it because it's fun. And again, not a great entry to the final corner either.
Too much. Whoa, not a great exit either. Hello.
That'll be an off track, so that will cancel that lap.
Which is only a 42.5 either way. So.
You know what? Oh no, he's definitely took the prize.
Exciting amongst those guys.
It just happened for John Gallen. It's down the inside of the second to last corner. Sorry, third to last corner. Well, he's not clear there. Interesting to see whether Stuart Hall came across or whether Gallen came across. That'll be the deciding factor. Yeah, Hall's pinched him a little bit.
Yeah, even if the normal racing line is a bit to the left-hand side because you're setting up for the next hairpin, I think it was 95% done, and Hall could have given a little more there, I reckon. Rather than get my nose into the rear bumper of someone who's 98% of the way past me.
Yeah, I agree with that.
Well, you know, things get very interesting for Tim Nicol in fourth, because Van der Crown's got ahead of him there, but Dan Hall and Damien Cairns are all over him. So if what Nicol did in the first end of the race, where he was a little better on the tyres towards the end, is true, he's going to need all of that right now, because Damien Cairns' tyres come as well. So
He's just caught Jeff Thomas, so we're getting pulled along by Jeff Thomas at the moment. Oh! Jason Fewens has just requested for a tow.
So is the engine no more?
Yep.
Yeah. Is that marshals or photographers over on the left there? That looks like a photographer.
So...
Smile, Jason.
Went there, but we've only got a couple up left. But he will be cleared and we will stay green. So, having a replay of exactly what's going on for Jason Fewens and that downshift that's grenaded an engine.
Well, they call it the money shift. Gone to fourth too early. Might have pressed for a downshift and been given 2. So there is an automated iRacing option to try to protect against double downshifts where it requires like a delay, and you can set that. But either he's done it himself by pulling the second downshift too early, or he's had what we call shifter bounce or something, and sometimes it records the input twice.
Either way, the
It's
engine
driving a
has
Commodore,
exploded.
so it's a 888 shift tower. They've had that thing before.
Don't remind Brock Feeney.
I saw him a couple of weeks ago and I didn't, so we're all in the clear there.
In the meantime, Tim Nichols going to go ahead and pinch a brake. That's going to present an opportunity for Dan Hall to try and get down the inside. And time is running out for John Latham, so he will want these guys to start going side by side as soon as they possibly can. And they are starting to get a lot closer, and Damien Cairns is supremely close to the rear bumper of Dan Hall. Matt van der Kraan takes this opportunity to grab a few car lengths worth of safety. This is the margin. What does it look like? So it's Van der Kraan, Nickel, Hall, Cairns, John Latham, and then Michael Stewart. 1, 2, 3, 4. Little break. 5, 6. In that order. And then you also get another tiny little break, which will be Jeff Thomas followed by Michael Whiting.
Different lines between turns 3 and 4, so if there was no one around you, you might stay very close and to the right-hand side of the track through turn 3 here, where David Nash is. But if you're in a little bit of traffic, you don't want to open up the inside of turn 4, you don't want to compromise your apex speed at turn 3 too much. So I think when you're in traffic, you take a slightly different line that makes you more difficult to pass, but maybe hurts your rear tyres a little more, getting the power through turn 4 and then straight towards Totoro VIP turn 5.
The thing is, turn 4 is really not an overtaking opportunity unless you're already up and alongside. So
We've seen a few people try though.
yes.
That's why you don't want to leave an invite to that when you can so easily cover it off by being a car width further over.
There's nothing in it for these guys, and there'll be 2 more laps when they get back to the start-finish line. No one's really able to close or just make enough ground to really get alongside. We're asking a lot of the tyres. Well, the bulk of this group is going to be about 13 to 14 laps on the tyres at the end of this one. We'll have to go 15 to 16 to get home. Now the final corner, run to the start-finish line. 2 laps left to run for Van der Kraan, Nickel, Hall, Cairns, Latham, Michael Stewart. Little break, and then Jeff Thomas and Michael Whiting as well. And Michael Whiting's actually going to get that spot on the run down to number 1. So that might mean... No, it's actually not going to go that way as we check in. And Whiting's going to get rotated off the nose of Jeff Thomas.
Right as we started looking contact through turn 1, there's a big speed difference, but Thomas puts himself into a weird posse here. On the brakes, they're not overlapped, and then here they're not, and then Thomas drives around the outside into a spot where I'm not sure Whiting was really expecting.
And the critical factor will be, he gets there, he's got to overlap. Was he going to leave him enough room? With what the stewards will look at with that one. If they don't think that a car width's worth of room would have been left to the white line, and only to the white line, curbs will not be counted. And it'll be self-penalising by the stewards, and they'll say, yep, we haven't left him enough room, therefore we're not going to touch it.
Get a load of this run from John Latham as well. Like you say, he's closing in on this group of drivers. He's plus 13 spots. He's got socks on, but he's racing them off.
And we're now on to the final lap of the race. Has anyone got something left to throw at it? Tim Nickel closes in on Matt van der Kraan. Both of these guys would like a podium before the season is out. And Nickel threw everything he had at him through turn 1, turn 2, and it's allowed Dan Hall to get a touch closer. Best overtaking spot on the laps now gone. It was sort of 1, 2, and 3. Now it gets much tougher for the rest of the lap, but you can certainly do what you can try to create the overlap. Nickel gets closer. And the drive is good out the other side as well, so he's going to be able to stay close enough to Matt van der Kraan to at least force him to cover. And if van der Kraan will have to cover, that will make up another car length or so. Run down to Samsung.
Van der Kraan had a really good run out of turn 4, though. You saw he was able to use a lot of the road, get a lot of the turning done before he came over the crest. And that protected him on the way into turn 5, where he then did pretty well in the traction as well.
Tim Nickel's been forced to change his lineup because Dan Hall was coming and thought about having a go down the inside as they crested the hill at Portimao. And the run to the final couple of major braking zones, if you can't get enough down the inside here, it is going to be over. There will not be enough time to draft up and alongside someone. Now you ask for a mistake from the driver ahead. And Nickel got in very deep, and he's forced to skate it wide and try and rotate it back. That will present half an opportunity. Van der Kraan's going to get a home in 3rd spot. But now it's the defense from Tim Nickel. Does he get the drive he needs out of the final corner? It's a short old run to the flag. Yes, he will. He will manage to come home in 4th spot. And Damien Cairns will get one of the best seats in the house to watch finish from all of those guys. Whiting's going to get home in night. Jeff Thomas did actually redress that one back out on track, so good sportsmanship on display. It won't get taken to the stewards. Have a look at that. Jamie McKnight home in 14th, Chris Smart 15th.
None of our late stoppers were really able to do a whole much of trying to reset the fastest lap of the race or anything like that. Unfortunately, they came out sort of in the traffic, not able to do a whole lot. Last couple of drivers coming across the line there, like Darren Crosby, Gary Buckland just behind. It's going to be some of the last on the lead lap.
I reckon Chad Lewis did come back in for another stop looking at that.
Yep, 7 laps to go.
Did need to. So he will get home ahead of Scott McCune, although he started right up the pointy end of this thing. It's not a great night at the office, and he's celebrating a little bit too much down the start-finish straight and tearing the panels off the ZB Commodore.
Well, you only need spares for 1 more week.
After that, they become... what do they call them?
Super 2 spec.
I was going to souvenirs. Oh, they become souvenirs after next week. So Scott Gamble will take out another one, and that'll be all but locking himself into the championship. Sean McNamara will manage to come home in 2nd spot, meaning it's another 9.5 Sim Sports 1-2. Van der Kraan will be celebrating in style, picks up a podium from the roller coaster. Ahead of Tim Nickel, Dan Hall, Damien Cairns. What a battle that was between those 4 on the dying stages of that one. John Latham home in 7th. Climbed his way through the field, might pick himself up another Chubby Buns Burgers driver of the day. We'll have to wait and see on that one from Michael Stewart. Michael Whiting and Jeff Thomas, those two battled hard, and a redress of positions between those two. Rounding up your top 10. David Nash started very well up the field, and the middle portion of the race did not go his way. Troy Stone Street from Matty Parker. Jamie McKnight home with fresh rubber later on the piece ahead of Christian Smart and Blake Delaney. Logan Barnett, 3rd of the 9.5 Sim Sport drivers, out of 17th. Stephen Varga from Dean Flavel and Robbie Christel round out your 20. Outside of here, we get into the last 10 worth of the drivers from Greg Sharp, Mark Poynton, Dave Kirby. Not his best night at the office, and I'd be very aware of that. Brad Doble from Darren Crosby, Gary Buckland, Stewie Hall, John Gallen with contact late on, and no further action from race control. Travis Hunt with that speeding and pit lane penalty. Take away 40 seconds from his race time, and he would have been right up there in terms of contention. Shane Randell home in 30th spot as well. Finally, the last few drivers on the final page. Chad Lewis from Scott McCune making his 200th start will finish the last of the drivers on the lead lap. Robbie Griffiths from Craig Friend, Lorne Mackay, Jason Fewens, and Murray Reale all at 1 lap down. And Darren Goosey did not make the start of the race, the only retirement from the split. But that is the conclusion of all the racing. It's time to have a bit of a chat to the drivers. I can't believe that one went caution-free. That was very, very quick. In terms of overall race speed. So we'll chat to our race winner to start off with, and we'll work our way down from the top end of town. It's going to get a nice, easy, clean night at the office, but boy, those boys got a flying start in the run down to turn number 1 there, mate.
Yeah, yeah, they did, didn't they? I didn't get a great start, but I'm not using any assists, so assists do help a little bit with their starts. But yeah, a little bit to work on with that start, mate, and yeah, get that clutch going.
Yeah, difficult run there, and then a little bit of paint traded between yourself and David Nash. Saw the flash of the lights, mate, just to voice some displeasure. It's always a good way. You lost some weight as well. You look like you've gotten yourself in a little bit better shape at the moment.
You're absolutely right. I have, mate. I was over the last month or so. I'm down to I've dropped almost 8 kilos, mate. So I'm working hard at it, and yeah, have been dropping a bit. And Mrs. says, yeah, around the face, I'm losing a bit. So
that's what I was going to say. In the last couple of weeks, you probably look a little bit slimmer around the chest, but it definitely the last week or so between the face and the neck, you look a lot slimmer, mate. So glad to see it's paying off for you.
Awesome, appreciate it. But yeah, no, it was good fun with Nash. I probably didn't. He didn't deserve the flash of the lights. I just did it because hey, we're in the moment, and I don't want any contact first lap. But you know, I probably squeezed on him a little bit there. Could have given him a bit more room.
It's lap 1, it's turn 1. Yeah, we've all been there. We've all done that, mate. One more week left in terms of visiting these cars. We're talking on the Logitech Pro broadcast last night about everyone's got memories of this car, and you know, a stellar run for you is going to come to an end in terms of this car because onto new hardware and the Gen 3. Is there any particular moment from the Gen 2 and the Holden Commodore that sticks out in your mind?
Yeah, there is a couple of moments. I guess you were probably calling it too, which was there was it wasn't Daytona. It was with Darren Lobb, and he wasn't looking for the undercut there. Maybe it was Charlotte, yeah, Roval. And yeah, I got the undercut on him, and he had the late pit stop, and I managed to get the jump on him just ahead of him, and then there was a safety car which allowed my tyres to cool, and then we had a great run to the line. But yeah, that was one of the good ones that I remember in Vets because of it was just a strategy where you're trying to fly under the radar and then pop up at the end, sort of like what Michael Whiting does a bit, you know what I mean? And yeah, so that was really good. But obviously this season, Aragon, you know, racing with Macca, you know, as hard as what we did, that was awesome too. But yeah, there's been some great memories, but most importantly, Scotty, it's been friends made and people met, like even, you know, yourselves through the broadcast and the whole V8 Vets community, not just the Vets, I guess the whole sim racing Australian V8 community, you know. So it's been a great ride, a great number of years, but it is due for a change, and I'm looking forward to the Gen 3s, although I'm probably not going to be able to give it the time they deserve initially. I mean, it is summer season, and we've got things to do and places to be, and you know, kids, and so daylight savings, we want to get out and explore that, and that's part of that time of the year for me. But maybe after that we'll try and hook in and see what happens. But yeah, I'm looking forward to the change up, mate. Really am.
What I was going to say, mate, you lose all this weight just in time for Christmas to pack it all back on, I suppose.
Yeah, well, no cake, mate, no cake.
Mate, congratulations on another race win. Who'd you like to thank tonight?
Yeah, look, I'll do the sponsors for Sean tonight. And I really want to do a big shout out to RSW Graphics. Ross over there, he does a fantastic job on all the 9.5 cars, and also this Mates for Mates. I mean, it is Men's Mental Health Month, and so for all those out there, it's a veterans, not a V8 veterans, a veterans sort of health service, a little bit like Soldier On and a little bit like some of the others that we've run over the years. And it was a bonus for Sean to let me run this car, this livery for this season, and also Ross done an amazing job on it. So if you need a paints for your Gen 3, what I'm saying is go hit up Ross over at RSW Graphics. He does amazing jobs. But on top of that, RaceKraft they're fantastic. Turn In Apparel, Racing Ears, and Prestige Cinematography. And of course, you guys over at SimSpeed, love what you do. You know that I watched it last night. Shame I missed the quali in the start. Just couldn't quite get there in time. But yeah, I did watch the race. It was awesome. And you know, to the drivers, Maddie, well done. Sean, what a drive, amazing. And Dan, Tim Nicol, really good drives by them. So thanks, guys, and hopefully we see you next week. One race to go, guys. That's going to be awesome. Bathurst to finish.
Have you got a special livery that you've got picked out? Because I know there was a lot of requests on the Discord for everyone to bring out something special, something that means something to them.
No, I haven't at this stage. I haven't really put much thought into it, but yeah, I will go away and have a little think about it and see what we're going to run.
All right, good to see. Bring me something exciting for next week, and congratulations on the weight loss, mate. You are looking really, really good. It's good to see.
Thanks, Scotty. Cheers, guys. See you.
Righto, we'll jump one spot further down, and after talking to the race winner, we'll talk to the man's team boss. Have you got everyone on a diet over there, Sean McNamara? Because Scotty's looking fantastic, mate. What about the rest of you guys?
I must have taken what he had then, mate.
Are you going to claim you've lost a good 5 or 10 kilos yourself as well, mate?
No, put it on. That's I lost that last year. I found it this year, so it's fine.
Oh, it's got to go somewhere, eh? A little bit of a climb through the field here tonight. It's up 8 spots to finish second place on the podium. A little bit of a strategy race there as well, which was good to see.
Yeah, it's high dig. Look, yeah, I mean, obviously, I've done bugger all laps, really. I think I've done maybe 4 laps leading into tonight with everything going on this week. But, yeah, tyre deg was pretty high, but if you sort of figured out how to look after the rear tyre, it wasn't that bad for you. So, yeah, coming out of 10, that was kind of where I expected to be honest with you. And as the race went on, I got comfortable on the track and comfortable with what I needed to get out of the car with the setup. And, yeah, I thought I'd box a bit early and I'd put a bunch of fuel on. I felt like I had pace on the guys in front of me. So I was, yeah, just threw a bunch of fuel on, and then that second or the middle stint, Maddie and Dan were sort of up ahead. And again, just looking after the tyre, I felt like I'd come back to them quick enough, and we did, and we had a fuel advantage. So yeah, it was good. It was ebbs and flows, but it was good fun.
Mate, she's a very, very challenging old circuit to look after those rear tyres, the fronts as well. What was the... Do you mind if I ask what the brake bias was here tonight? Because I was actually out and circulating in this car, and I couldn't find a method that was looking after the tyres one way or the other. You were always losing one end of the car.
Yeah, I tried everything from 49 to I think we were about 50, mid-54s, but we ended up around... I ended up, I don't know what the other boys are on, but I ended up around 52 and a half, I think it was.
Okay, so right about where I ended up as well. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. So it was sort of yeah. As the fuel load come off, you've really had to creep it forward. But as long as you broke the car straight and use the engine RPM to slow it up, once you sort of get your head around that bit and go, okay, we'll use the engine as a brake, so you're not using as much pedal pressure. It stopped those inside front locks. So yeah, it was a little bit different, but look, it was good fun. It was good battle in that middle stint with all the boys, and even at the start it was good fun, so I enjoyed coming through the pack.
It's good when you get a good pack like these guys as well that race you hard and then just go, okay, you got there, all right, have it.
Yeah.
You know, I love that kind of racing where it's like challenging to get down the inside, mate. Good old drive through the field. Who would you like to give a thank you to tonight? Scotty did say he was going to cover you off from the sponsors chairs, so anyone you'd like to give a shout out to?
Yeah, look, obviously all the vets guys, everyone behind the scenes, Jamie for doing the setups. Again, it's great to be able to jump in and have a setup done and dusted, you don't have to worry about it. All SimSpeed guys, thank you for everything you guys do. Massively appreciate it. Scotty, thanks to him, looked at some of his data through the day today, and that made a bit of a difference for me jumping in tonight. And Logan had a really good race as well, up 20 spots as well, so well done to him. Well done to Maddie, and of course our sponsors, RaceKraft Simulations, RSW Graphics, Gen 3 coming out, so hit RSW up if you're looking for a livery. And of course Prestige Cinematography and Racing is Custom Use Protection. So and all the boys at 9.5.
Mate, congratulations on the finish here tonight. We head into the final round of this era for V8 Veterans next week.
Yeah.
And have you got any ideas about a livery that you've got picked out that means something to you? I think that's the big key, is we're not going to be able to recognise any cars next week because everyone's going to be celebrating something, but I like that a lot.
Yeah, I went through the first ever livery on that we had, but done by a finger painter. But yeah, hopefully got something there we can throw on. I have to go through the archives and see what we can find. But yeah, just saying to Matty before, it's a bittersweet one. These cars are the end of an era, and Gen 3 is going to be pretty good. And obviously the battle in the championship as well next week in Bathurst with Kenny. It was shame he wasn't here tonight. Hope he's all good. But yeah, it's going to be a belter, and we'll send these things off in style.
Yeah, for sure. And then I can guarantee you there's going to be celebrations. Everyone's going to be invited to celebrate next week at the end of the race, I think, and to burn it down to celebrate. The things. It's a shame the jump's no longer there at Bathurst, because I think that is like the ultimate celebration, but it is what it is.
Send them to the scrap heap over that thing. But yeah, it should be good. Looking forward to it, mate.
All right, mate. Congratulations on the race here tonight, and we'll see you again next week.
Cheers. See you, boys.
And finally, a man who's going to make his first podium appearance of the season. It's been a very long time between drinks. It's a man who did not have a lot of luck when he was crawling around this place in the supercar a little bit earlier on in the week, but it seems that whatever bad luck, you got out the exhaust pipe nice and early, and solid sailing, very strong qualifying effort. And did you learn something from that race start I taught you on Tuesday night, Matty?
That's the most ridiculous start I've ever seen. You need to show me how you did that. But yeah, happy to get a good start away there. Always nice to lead Scotty Gamble for a lap or two. I don't care how it happens. I'm always happy.
So for those of you watching along, I've started running in a Tuesday night league with Matty van der Kraan, and I can't say what was going through my head at the end of the first 3 laps, and Matty was laughing along with me. Did you feel a little bit like that? You go, I can't believe I've just done this. I can't believe I'm leading this thing.
Yeah, bloody oath. And I tried to head down and be cool, but I was the furthest things from it. I drove like I'm going to say old mole, but that's probably not politically correct, but there I just said it. I didn't drive that well in that first stint, but anyway, it's what it is.
Mate, you put enough of a race back together. You took quite a long drink on the fuel at that first stop, and it sort of balances the car out, but a little bit slower in terms of the lap time, a little bit more tyre wear, but you're just able to recover and keep it cool. So you said, first stint wasn't all that good, but you recovered really, really nicely in stint number 2.
Yeah, correct. I was much, much happier. It was quite funny. I was pretty excited. I was getting away from Sean and thinking, here I go, look at me. And then Sean just started reeling me back in as I was reeling Dan back in. And, then all 3 of us do it together. And, yeah, Sean just had too much outright pace in the end, which I expected, even if he hasn't done that many laps, every lap he learns. And he got up ahead of me there. But, yeah, since 2, and certainly since 2 was a lot better. Since 3 wasn't bad, but I was certainly feeling the pressure from Tim, who drove a great race as well.
Mate, there was so many good cars all right together in that final stages of that race. I mean, talk us through a little bit of Portimao. It just leans on those tyres. We were seeing Dag at the back end of stints in the realm of 2.5 to 3 seconds. How good is it having a car that eventually the tyres fade off that much? Are you hoping for a little bit more of that extreme tyre wear from the Gen 3 cars?
Yeah, certainly am. Just looking forward to something different. We've been driving these cars for a long time. Hopefully iRacing give the Gen 3 cars a bit more love. You were on a knife's head it's the whole way around here, and lap 40 or 44, your tyres are gone. You got Timmy right up your butt, man. Stress. Woo.
You got a few car lengths there at one point. It was just enough of a sigh of relief, mate. Finally, I'll give you the floor to thank everyone that makes it possible for you and the boys over at Angry Birds.
Yeah, cheers, mate. Of course, the first up, thank all my teammates over at Angry Birds. Great bunch of fellas. So we all help each other out in various ways. So thanks to those boys. Obviously, RaceKraft, for the rig I'm sitting in and various other bits and bobs I've got hanging off the rig here, and the support they provide the league, along with the other sponsors in Chubby Buns, Logitech, Nova, Player One, Sim Gear, Parramatta, Isuzu Ute, and SimSpeed, and you boys in the broadcast, and certainly the boys who do race control. I have so much respect for those guys. What a shit job that is, and they do an awesome job at it.
Mate, congratulations on the results here tonight. Before we let you go, we're just talking to everyone. What's your favourite memory or favourite livery that you've got of the Gen 2 era that you'll be trying to bring back to life next week?
One or two. I actually really like this one. Nick's done a great job. Nick Hausler does our liveries. I love this one. I reckon there's an old one which was the Ambrose Xbox one that he brought back a little while ago, which was a cracker as well.
Yeah, I like that. That's a very, very good shout. That's a forgotten car a little bit, given that there's been some amazing ones across the years, but that is a very, very good shout. So All good. We'll look forward to seeing what you come up with to celebrate the send off at Bathurst and what a send off it'll be next week, mate.
Cheers, boys. Great to have a chat to you.
Congratulations, Matty, and that rounds out our podium celebrations here tonight. We've got a few different nominations for the Chubby Buns Burgers Driver of the Day. I'll just run through the list of them because I think they're all worth a little bit of a discussion point. And I'll sort of tell you probably some of the reasons we're going to go through and deliver them. Stephen Varga's done a phenomenal drive through the field without setting a qualifying lap to drive from 19th finishing 18th. Timmy Nichols driven a phenomenal race. We're talking about him at the tail end, and so was Matt Vanderkraan, finishes 4th spot. He was only +2, but either way, I do like highlighting drivers that managed to put it all together in a specific race in the season. He ran a great race. Dan Hall was another one. Very, very happy. Similar for him. Qualified out of 7th spot and managed to gain 2 spots to finish inside the top 5, which is one of, I think, the very few top 5s for Dan Hall. And then John Latham is the other one that's worth mentioning, +13 spots to finish 7th inside the top 7. John Latham's already picked himself up at Chubby Buns Burgers Driver of the Day. Is there anyone that pops out amongst that list, Dave Haynes, that you'd like to talk about or centre in on?
I still stand by my nomination of John Latham, I reckon.
Yeah, if he hadn't already got one, I'd be alongside of you. I'm going to give it to Dan Hall, and then our producer's going to have to be the tiebreaker on that one. All right, so we're going to give it to the man behind the Logitech sponsorship, and works for Logitech directly and has been a great supporter of mine this year, I can certainly say. So big shout out to Dan Hall, who finishes inside the top 5 and gets nominated as this week's Chubby Buns Burgers Driver of the Day in the 462 machine. Difficult old start for his teammate, but he cut his way through and got to enjoy a really, really good battle from the roller coaster. Ladies and gentlemen, that is going to wrap us up for all the racing action here. Once again, another serving of V8 Veterans Vindaloo. The last of this style of curry will be served up next week. And we're going to go one more announcement before we cut our way through. It's the championship standings, albeit this will not show any RC penalties or Zoom bonus points that have been added to the orders. So 13-17 for Scott Campbell has the lead by about 87 points over Sean McNamara. Does still need to finish next week, so it is not decided, but it'll be an 11-point margin back to Ken Latta for Sean. Stewart inside the top 4. Damien Cairns finishes very well off tonight to move his way to 5th spot. Michael Whiting 6th. Matt Vanderkraan will grab a few points as well. Have a look how tight it is between these guys. 10 points from Whiting to Vanderkraan, and another 11 points back to Mark Point. Point did not have a great night here tonight. And Dave Kirby, another driver who didn't have great. Have a look at the margins there. 10:38, 10:35, 10:33, 10:28. So from Robbie Crisdale down to John Latham, covered by 10 points. So quite a few good margins that are quite close together. So that's the championship points for the top 20 we're sort of looking at there at the moment. So worthwhile noting, and a reminder to all the viewers, next week will be the last time that we'll be taking our drivers out in Gen 2 hardware. And the final stanza of the Holden Commodore, David Haynes. And this generation, the Ford Mustang. The Mustang will be back in Gen 3, but no longer the Chrome Lion on the front end of the Holden. And Mount Panorama is just the right place to send these cars off, isn't it? 300-kilometre endurance race to come our way, by the way, next week. Yeah,
dead on. Be perfect. Love Mount Panorama. Such a challenge in these cars. You wouldn't think of anywhere better to send them off either. So we can really, really look forward to wrapping up the championship, to seeing an awesome Bathurst race, and also hopefully all the special liveries, all the tributes, everything everyone's going to bring out as V8 Vets and iRacing as a whole moves towards a new generation, a new era of supercars racing.
Yeah, and it's going to be a gangbuster as well. On behalf of everyone that makes it possible for the V8 Veterans, the title sponsor, RaceKraft Simulations, Player One Sim Gear, SimSpeed, LGC Images, Logitech G, Nova Sim Sports, Paramount Isuzu Ute, and our special Driver of the Day sponsor from behalf of Chubby Buns Burgers. Well, once again, ladies and gentlemen, thank you for joining us for another race from Portimao, the Algarve International Circuit. The last time Gen 2 will be out on the circuit. We'll celebrate the Commodore and everything Holden next week. when we go racing for the final time in Gen 2 and for the final time for Season 21. Won't be the final time for 2024, but it will be the final time in iRacing Season 2024. So we'll see you all again next week for the very last time in the Gen 2s from Mount Panorama.